Good morning. Today we're going to be doing a full service on my 2019 Harley-Davidson Streetglide CVO. First thing we need to do is go get oil and supplies. This is a good opportunity to warm up the bike, to get it full operating temperature before we start. Come on along with. So, the first thing you want to do is get your bike up to fully operational temperature. Sitting idle in the driveway or parking lot ain't gonna do that. You want to get the transmission to full temperature as well as your primary. Sitting in the driveway, your engine maybe get warm, but it's not going to do justice. The purpose of getting the engine to fully operational temperature, it'll get the most contaminants out of the oil, so it'll do the best job of cleaning everything out when you're putting fresh oil back in. So, a good, I would say a good 20 to 30 minute drive, if not an hour, depending on the temperature you're dealing with. If it's frigid, really cold temperatures, I'd probably go a little longer, just for the fact that you want to make sure it's fully warm. With an engine, your engine being air cooled, with a colder air temperature outside, it'll take longer to warm up. When talking about oil, if you look at on a lot of the discussion, a lot of people like to use a variety of different oils, brands. I prefer to use the Harley. It's very consistent on where you can get it. You can get it at any dealership. The engine was designed to be operating with it. So if I ever am on the road and my oil's a little low, I can stop by any Harley dealership and it's readily available. I can get it at any time. It's always the same stuff. So there's some people that like to use AMS oil. My personal opinion, as long as you're using the same oil, especially if you need to top it off, it's in you're in a better situation. Also, with me still having the extended service plan intact, they do require you to change the oil on a regular basis. Now, what that said, it doesn't have to be done at the dealership. They can actually track how often you buy oil from the dealership to keep your extended service plan intact. Do you have to? No. You can keep all your receipts. I'm going to be honest, I'm not very good at storing tons and tons of receipts to prove that I've maintained the motorcycle. So therefore, I prefer to just use the dealership. They can actually look up when I bought oil, and in the past that's been sufficed that I've maintained the motorcycle. So, but you can do whatever you want. It's not as convenient to use other oils. We have arrived. Alright, so I got it in the garage, put it up on my lift. One of the first things that I do when I do an oil change is I take off the derby cover first. Anytime that I'm getting ready to remove a fluid, oil, transmission, or primary, I ensure that I can actually get the pathway that we're going to refill it off before we disassemble it. That way, if there's an issue where, say, I can't get the derby cover off, so the bolts are stripped, we can not take out the fluid, get it up to get the means that we can actually remove it. I've had other people that I've talked to that have had their derby cover bolts heads are stripped out just from regular wear and tear over doing several oil changes, that they can't get them off. So where we're going to first start off is take off our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 derby covers bolts, and we'll do that real quick. Those are a T27. I recommend getting a really high quality tools. Bad quality tools are the worst thing that you can use, because they'll actually cause stuff to round out and cause you more headaches than buying a good quality tool. I actually have a Snap-on. I highly believe in Snap-on. They're a good quality tool. Now, one thing that I have done is I noticed on my last oil change, the derby cover bolts were starting to strip out a little bit when trying to tighten them. So I purchased new ones. It's a very inexpensive way to prevent problems in the future. So what I recommend doing is taking this one part way out, then taking everything else out, and then pulling this one off. That way you can bring off your derby cover, set it aside, which I have a spot where I'm going to set it so it doesn't get scratched up. Once you have the derby cover off, make sure you have a pan underneath here, because it does leak a little bit. It's not normal, but then you use a 5/8 wrench. There's a bolt right on the bottom. That's how you drain the derby, or the primary. We'll do that and be right back. Once we have that off, you want to examine your derby cover, looking at the O-ring, as well as examining your drain plug and your drain plug gasket. If there's anywhere on your drain plug gasket, I do recommend replacing that, or the gasket on the primary. Some people replace it every time. It's a personal choice. There's always a risk that you could replace the gasket and have a leak, or if you don't replace the gasket, you could have a leak. But it's up to you. I replace them if I see any wear on them. The derby cover, actually, the gasket looks really good, so I probably won't change it. Where if I look at the drain plug itself, the gasket looks pretty good, and you want to make sure you wipe off all the, there can be little metal shavings on this little magnet. With that, excessive, if you find a ton of metal shavings on there, you may want to contact a mechanic or investigate where those shavings came from. Once giving it some time, then you can go ahead and put the drain plug back in. And I do recommend always checking your service manual on fluid capacities. I know what mine are. Make sure that's nice and snug. Everything's cleaned up real well. And then at that point, I bought this neat little funnel for to place the fluid into the primary from Harley-Davidson. You can get them probably many different places. I'm refilling it with 80/90 weight or 80 weight -140 gear lube. It actually makes it shift a lot nicer, a lot quieter. So the primary does take 1 quart. Makes it a lot quicker using the funnel, just pouring it right in. As you can see, you can barely see the fluid right at the base. That's how you want it to look. So, okay, I will get ready to put the derby cover on next. Alright, make sure that it's all cleaned up. The derby cover and your seal where it's going to seal up against. Place it on. And I always start with the top one, just so it holds it in place, so you're not dropping it, creating scratches. And I manually run these in by hand. And you want to do these just like you do a tire on a car. You want to do a star pattern. I do believe there is an actual pattern that you're supposed to use. I've always found that using just any star pattern really works, and I double check all my torque specs. I know the torque specs on this are 84 to 108 inch-pounds. Not foot-pounds, inch-pounds. If you over-torque them, you can pull the threads right out or strip out your bolts. So you want to get a torque wrench and set it. I'm going to set mine to 84 inch-pounds. And I have a click style, makes it a little easier. Okay, I'm at 84 inch-pounds. Some of these, they sometimes don't want to click, so working in a star pattern, remember. one doesn't want to go. And that was pretty close. And I always like to just double check them one more time. Alright, so we're done with the primary. As we move on to the oil, I want to make sure that you can remove the oil cap before removing the oil. That's for your transmission. If you get underneath here, the one that faces forward right here is your oil. The one that faces straight down right there, it's hard to see, that's your transmission. I like to do these one at a time. They're both 5/8, so I'll pull those out and get this draining. As you notice, pulling the engine oil, it's not drained very fast until you take off the oil cap. This will indicate that I forget, there's a seal inside the head that I do believe it's a seal, or like a PCV valve, that is working properly when it's that way. If it doesn't make a difference, then there's an issue in the heads or the upper part of the engine. While it's draining, also make sure, once again, to look at your drain plug, look at your seal or your O-ring, and clean off the any kind of oil shavings. There's a actual little magnet to catch any kind of oil or any kind of shavings before it goes back through the engine. Alright, next we're going to be doing the transmission. You almost need a socket for that one. This wrench is not doing quite so hot on it. Getting to the transmission is way easier with a socket because it's kind of tucked up in there. So, okay. Once you break it loose, you can probably do it by hand. It's fairly easy. With the transmission, I've always noticed transmission's super clear. As you'll notice, as you notice, I'll probably drop the stupid drain plug like I always do. Filming it will make it 10 times worse. Did not, but you can see how clear it is. Once again, Check your drain plug and your gasket. This gasket looks horrible, so I'm going to replace this gasket. So to replace the drain plug gasket, very simply, I get a little pick and see what bad condition this one was in. And just work your way off with it. See how it's kind of tore up. So you grab a new gasket. And just roll that on. It looks a lot better. Alright, we're going to go ahead and reinstall the drain plug, then we will refill the fluids. Okay, we're going to do the oil filter next. I've yet to find a good way to get this off without making a mess. So the best thing I found is just stuffing paper towels in there, trying to catch the oil as it gets messed up. Now, last time I did an oil change, well, I was at Sturgis and I had somebody else do an oil change for me. They used a Canon filter. With that, the Harley oil filter does not fit on it. So we could has some interesting times here. A 17mm does fit on the end, so we'll see if that'll pull it right off. These shouldn't be that tight. I don't want to say this is too tight. It is coming off nice and easy. So you pull it off. It is awful hot because we were running, remember. Use that oil or that paper towel to mop up any kind of mess that's in there. My drain pan has a special spot that helps drain the oil filter, so we'll set that there. We're going to wipe up all the oil that we can. Always make sure you get the old O-ring on. It was stuck on the engine. If you do that, if you don't catch that, you're going to have a double O-ring and you'll just leak all over, and one, create a mess, and two, if you don't catch it, you run your engine out of oil that way really quickly. So you take your new oil filter, put a little grease, a little oil on the seal, and you bring it in carefully. Remember, we already wiped off the where it seals up. And you spin it on nice and easy. It should only be hand tight. So as we get in there, and then hand tight it is, and that's it. Now we're going to go to filling the engine and transmission. Remember, we already filled the primary before we sealed it up. So we're going to pull out the transmission drain plug. It's a 3/8 Allen. Now I did double check all the drain plugs. I double and triple check those just to make sure that they are tight. Then in the transmission, I'm putting the 80-140 in. With this, it takes 28 ounces. So at the end of this, we should have, it's a 32 ounces, so we should have 4 ounces left. So after it's full, I recommend going in here, put your transmission dipstick in, run it in, run it back out, and you can see it's full. Very hard to see, but it nonetheless. Now on the M8 here, with the new style filter, it's 4.5 quarts. Done enough times that I've looked it up, ran it, and double checked it several times. So I always like to, as soon as you're done with one, seal up the transmission so there's no more left. Now we're going to put 4.5 quarts in the oil. Alright, so next, put your oil cap back on just for safety measures. We're going to start it up. And what we're looking for now, which we won't have any problems, but this would be a good opportunity to get underneath. Now we want to pull out the dipstick and see how it looks. Wipe it off, put it back in, and it is full on the jiffy stand because it is standing straight up. Now my bike's a little different because I have a catch can right here. So at this point, I'm going to clean that off. It's just brake clean. It helps eliminate any kind of oil residue that's left over. And we're going to pull off this catch can. How this catch can is on, it just screwed. It's awful tight though. So it just screwed on. And this is what would have been going inside the engine. So it catches that instead of going through the throttle body back into this burned out in the cylinders. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it builds up over time. So what I will do is just clean this up really well. So basically what it does, it pushes it through here, pushes out through here, and the vapors come back up through here catching the oil. So real good device to keep all that junk out of the engine. Many people have come up with different ideas. Then I just zip tie it back in place, and then we are done. I hope this was beneficial to anybody. At this point, I'd also check I recommend checking tire pressures. I check those on a regular basis, so I know they're good. And then we will get this put back together, and I'll show you how to reset the miles till since serviced. I'll be right back with you. All right, the next thing you do to set the miles till since serviced, takes two hands, so this will be difficult to video. Now they talk about you have to hold the trigger while holding the on and off. For like 10 seconds, I do believe it is. Alright, if you mess up like I did, then you have to wait about 5 minutes. So we'll try it again here in a little bit. Alright, attempt 2. We have to turn on accessories only. On a CVO, you do it by holding down the, they call it a trigger, that one right there. As you see, everything will kick on. As soon as the warning light comes on, then you hold down the power for 10 seconds. I do believe it is. And these are all your service menus. So you scroll all the way back. I wouldn't mess with anything in here. I'm not qualified. So then I would hit reset mileage. And it says, it gives you a warning. Service, reset, clear, info screen, mileage since last service. And you hit yes. And I shut it off. Then as we go ahead and start it up, you can go to your info. Distance last service, 0 miles. And that's how I do a service on my own bike. I hope this helps anybody out there. If you like it, please like and subscribe. Thank you, and you have a great day.